have Gamma Singh Jr. on the phone. That's how I know him. He's the former partner of Tiger Raj Singh, who's now Jinder Mahal. They used to be the Karachi Vice and Seek and Destroy in Stampede Wrestling, Great North Wrestling, and PWA Wrestling, many other companies across Canada. And his name is also Raj, but I'll let you introduce your new character to us, Raj, because I'm not very
Uh,
familiar with it.
yeah, no, yeah, my name's also Raj. I was wrestling as Damascene Jr. for a while, and I actually started about 3 years ago, and I came up with the name Fabian Ribeiro, sitting at the drawing board, just a little play on words for the wrestling boys, and then slowly transitioned to the Stamina Poppy, which I guess got a big laugh and a lot of support from the fans. So I started using the moniker the Stamina Daddy, the Stamina Poppy, Fabian Ribeiro. So that's what I'm doing nowadays.
So, what is your family background, anyways? Do you have Indian in your background too, or is it from Pakistan, like your original gimmick was?
Well, yeah, no, we are actually from India, Punjab, India. That's where my dad's from, and my mom is from Puerto Rico. But with my dad, the back in the day, they used to bill my father and then my cousin and I from Pakistan because it was just, I guess, the easiest way for Bruce Hart to get away with fans and other workers calling my dad the P word.
Yeah, because there was a what was it like? Not to sound racist or anything, but didn't the fans used to say "packy shit" or something? That was the chant or something
Yeah,
like that.
yeah, that's exactly it. Yeah, because I mean, Pakistani short, they would refer to, I guess, basically any Indian or Pakistani person as a Paki in a derogatory way, and that was the only way for Bruce Hart to let basically the fans yell that out. So that's why he billed my father from Karachi, Pakistan, and then it's kind of just something that my dad rolled with, realizing that there's going to be heat, so he kind of embraced it.
Calgary has not always been the most politically correct place. I can still remember, like, as recently as that Stampede Wrestling show we did in Cochrane, Alberta, where
That's
Honky
right.
Tonk Man got the crowd to chant the word faggot. And I remember Lance Storm was watching the match from the back with me, and he's like, in the 2000s, people are actually chanting the word faggot. How is this possible? But
I remember that, man, and I was like, "Holy cow!" Like, I don't know how this is getting by with any other racist terms. There was also, I remember too, wrestling against you in the mid 2000s, there early 2000s, where fans were actually chanting the P word to me as well. Not, it was just like a handful of fans, not like the whole building back in the day, but there'd be like one or two odd people there doing that.
yeah, it's pretty comical. And the funny thing is, don't Indian people hate Pakistani, like people from actual India, because they separated from India in the 1940s or something?
Yeah, there is a part of I mean it's not everybody. There's like small groups from both sides of the border there, and there still are fights over some of the land, which is Kashmir. So they're doing that, and I guess that's where the notion is that they hate each other. They don't really hate each other. Like I mean, if you see Pakistanis or Indians out here in Canada, they get along with each other just like their own.
Right, but let's say Jinder Mahal was to wrestle in India against a Pakistani wrestler, uh, Jinder would definitely be the baby face, wouldn't he?
Absolutely, and then at that point, maybe the Pakistani may not get out of there alive.
Yeah. So who actually trained you guys? Was it Bad News Allen?
Yeah. So we had Jerry Morrow and Bad News Allen both training us. We had our classes were always pretty small. We would have about 5 or 6 students total. Jinder and I were always the mainstays. We were basically at every class, unless I was out at a hockey tournament or somewhere out of town playing hockey. Then it would just be Jinder. But other than that, we always had new students in and out. And then Dusty Adonis would pop in with us, and he stayed with us for a little while. But yeah, it was Jerry throughout the week, 3 or 4 days a week, and then we would have bad news for Saturday, Sunday, and then my dad would sit with us and watch our matches and videos, and that's when he would basically just tell us like, hey, work on the facials here. This is the kind of stuff you'd want to do on promos. This is the kind of stuff you want to stay away from.
And for those that don't know, Bad News Allen was actually Bad News Brown in WWE for a short
Yeah,
period of time there. Um, for those that never met him in person, what was he like in person? Because a lot of people only, for some reason, there must have been some heat between him and Brett. Because I notice a lot of the times when Brett's talked about him in his book, for example, he's always very demeaning about Bad News. But my experiences with him were always very positive in the time that I spent with him. But I know you spent way more time with him than I did.
yeah. I think we kind of when we started training with him, he was beyond that point where he was actually wrestling and stuff like that, and he wasn't really around the boys anymore. With my father, Johnny Smith would come around as well, help with some training with Jerry as well, and Abu Rizal Malad. Bad News was always like always telling jokes, always laughing. He had like this infectious laugh that would get everybody else laughing and stuff too. And he was super knowledgeable, always conversed with everybody, and he knew a whole ton of stuff about everything. He can talk politics, he can talk sports, talk, of course, wrestling, and he was very like I guess you could say brothered out in the sense like maybe he had like heat with Owen or Brett or whoever it was when they were I guess younger in wrestling, but at that point he might have had a few stories here and there, but it wasn't like a full on hatred for anybody. Um, and it's just I guess he would tell some stories here and there, but he never had like a full on hatred for people. I wouldn't say.
And for those that don't know, your dad, he was extremely popular in the Stampede territories, one of the main villains in Stampede Wrestling, but he did actually have a few WWE appearances. Wasn't he even on Piper's Pit or something?
He was on Piper's Pit. I don't even think he got a word in though. I think my dad was mentioning to me that they bring out Hogan, Hillbilly Jim, and Jimmy Snuka, and then my dad just like they ask my dad a question, and by the time he even answers it, Hogan guys all pop in. So my dad just gets up and powders out. So, but yeah, my dad did wrestle for the WWF at the time for a bit. He was just doing their overseas stuff in Kuwait, Qatar, stuff like that, and then he was doing some shows for them while they were in Toronto, and then he did an episode of that Tuesday Night Titans. I remember he was mentioning that, and then unfortunately he just decided to go back to Stampede Wrestling because it seemed like there was more work for him at that point. So that's kind of what he was doing, and he was actually going out to South Africa and Trinidad quite a bit. Um, and he was like a huge babyface star over there. So I guess like he had it going for him in that sense, and that's kind of why he walked away from WWF at the time.
Okay.
Yeah.
So what led to you and Raj actually, or Jinder Mahal, we'll call him just to avoid confusion, becoming an actual tag team? Was that always the plan all along? Because I know you guys weren't you friends from childhood?
Yeah, we grew up together, and I was always playing hockey. So for me, it was more like I thought I was going to be in the NHL. Like I grew up wanting to be in the NHL, but also wanting to wrestle at the same time. And Raj always wanted to be a wrestler. Yeah, that was his thing. Like we knew he wanted to be a wrestler. Like he was always a big guy. Even when Bad News first met him, right away Bad News called him the future. He's like, oh man, like this guy's got the size. He was 6'3" at 15, 16 years old.
Yeah.
So yeah, he was a big guy right away. And Rod strictly focused right on wrestling. And then I was playing hockey, and then I turned down a couple scholarships and some opportunities to play in Europe. And then I just, you know what, one morning I said, yeah, I'm gonna start wrestling. And then Raj was already going under Tiger Raj. So then I needed a wrestling name, and then Bad News would always refer to me as Junior. So we basically had no choice. And then right away they're like, well, you guys are going to be a tag team. And no matter where we went, instantly they're like, oh, you're Gamma's son and you're Gamma's nephew. Right away they'll throw us in as a tag team, whether we liked it or not.
And I'm gonna guess that Bruce Hart probably came up with the idea of calling you guys the Karachi Vice in Stampede Wrestling.
Yeah, that's correct, man. Yeah, that's right. Yeah, when like Raj and I always used to come up with names or stuff like that we can do, and we came up with Seek and Destroy, like a play on words, obviously, because of our religious background, and then play on words. But yeah, right away, Bruce just turned around and said, "We're going to call you the New Karachi Vice." And in fact, he even doing one of our good buddies, Dan Myers, put him. He wanted, I guess, like a new Mukhan Singh type of thing where we bring in a white guy and convert him into being one of the Karachi Vice members, and we started calling him Mahatma Gandhi.
Oh God, yeah, I remember that.
Yeah, so Bruce always had those awesome ideas that ended up being so stupid, but people actually liked them.
Yeah. What was some of the highlights of your Stampede Wrestling career as a tag team with Jinder?
um, you know, it's so like I mean, for us, it's mainly like hanging out with all the boys and like the locker room aspect. I mean, that's where we became good buddies with yourself. But as for in the ring, I would have to say we weren't even 10 matches into our early wrestling careers, and right away Bruce throws us into main events against TJ and Harry, who are guys we're looking up to as we're brand new. We're like, holy crap! Like we were literally so nervous driving to the building. As soon as they're like, yeah, we're gonna have you guys. We're TJ and Harry. We're like, you got to be joking. But those ended up actually being like our highlights, like right off the bat.
And those were really good matches, from what I
I
remember.
Yeah, thank you. They were actually some of our better matches. Like, I mean, how can you not have a good match against those two guys, though, right? Like, I
No,
mean,
they're
those.
amazing, and we actually just had Harry in Great North Wrestling a few weeks ago, and he's better than ever. I just
Oh,
find it hilarious, and it's I feel great for Jinder about this because in those days, Ted was around, Harry, TJ. They all thought those guys would have been like the ones to reach superstardom the first, and it's funny that ultimately Jinder becomes the WWE champion before anyone training in Stampede Wrestling at that era, and I don't think anyone would have thought of that back in
yeah, I don't.
those days.
Absolutely not, man. Even just a couple years ago, like, I don't think anybody would predict that because, like, I mean, with Tyson Kidd, obviously he had an unfortunate incident. Tyson Kidd, Harry, they were doing great things. So we thought, like, yeah, these guys are going to be champions right away here too. And then I mean, with Teddy and the talent he had, I mean, we had yourself as well. You went to Puerto Rico and you were a star right away when you went over there to Hannibal.
Yeah,
And
and
we're like,
you actually, speaking of that, you actually went to Puerto Rico as well, didn't you, for
yeah,
WWC several times?
yeah, that's right. Yeah, I went over there a few times and wrestled, of course, as Singh Jr. And my cousin, unfortunately, was never able to come down because he was in university at the time because he's 2 years younger than I am.
Right.
And so while he was in school and once I quit hockey, I had all this free time. And I was fortunate enough that Carlos Colon gave me a few opportunities to go and wrestle in Puerto Rico.
And unfortunately, the business has kind of just gone to the wayside now. They're only running very few dates now. I don't think there's
Yeah,
really any.
they don't have very many big crowds anymore. Sometimes they'll go to like they go to like to have their anniversary show, which will have a ton of people. But then when they go to the smaller cities or smaller towns, then there's actually not very many people there, which is unfortunate. I mean, it's good that they're still on TV, but definitely a long ways away from the time even then when you went there because you guys were filling up the baseball stadiums.
Yeah, and there was actually IWA had 4 shows a week, and WWC had 4 shows a week, and each company had a combined 8 hour. Or yeah, there was a 8 hour combined of TV a week because each company had 4 hours of TV a week.
That's right. Yeah, I
Plus
mean,
WWE was on TV, so that was like a wrestling crazed island at that time.
yeah, it's crazy because everybody loves wrestling over there, but it just seems that they don't actually go and support the local events, which seems to be the case, I guess, now in Calgary as well.
Oh yeah, how is everything doing there? Because I've heard it seems like there's a lot of different companies coming there, but very few quality ones. Obviously, PWA I think is the top company in Alberta right now.
Yeah, absolutely. PWA is doing pretty good. Like we have a lot of top end talent. Like if anyone ever gets a chance to check out Michael Richard Blaze, he's really good. We have another guy, Brandon Van Danielson, who tears things up. We got a young kid that was out here as well. His name is Tony Cage. He's actually out in the east right now. So there's a lot of talent that's actually being groomed out here in the PWA and moving forward. And as for the crowds and stuff, they are good. The only problem I'd say we seem to have is we can't sustain the same fans. So if you look, it seems like more like you have like the fans coming to check it out, fill up the place, and then you don't get those same fans coming back generally. But then you always fill up the place with new faces, which is cool. But we're just trying to find a way that we can have fans consistently showing up.
And I wrestled for PWA, I guess, numerous times, but the ones that stand out, they were combined Great North Wrestling PWA shows. The one night you took on Samoa Joe, and then the next night it was you and Jinder against me and Samoa Joe. And I
Yeah,
think that
man.
was my favorite match I ever had at the Ogden Legion.
I appreciate that, man. I actually was just watching that match with my dad not too long ago. He gave me a clothesline over the top ropes, and when I hit the apron, I almost broke my shins. I don't know if you remember that. My shins just flat right against the apron. I literally had to crawl to the dressing room.
I just remember the crowd was extremely hot for that match.
Yeah, no, that was definitely awesome, man. You and Raj actually used to wrestle each other all the time because you guys were the two biggest guys, always having to go at it.
Yeah, and that's what I tell people. He's a really tough guy actually, because I remember he was taking some beatings and that, and I remember that one time in particular. I don't remember who brought those light tubes, but like
Oh
somebody
man.
brought me like I don't know if it was 6 or 8 small light tubes taped together. It wasn't like the traditional
Oh
light
my God.
tubes you'd use in wrestling, and like
I
he
oh,
volunteered to take that without a shirt, which was just crazy.
that's one of the craziest things. Like, I mean, when we find out after, because I can't remember how many stitches he needed in his back, outrageous amount. There's pictures and videos online if somebody wants to check it out. But I remember guys like Chris Benoit were phoning my father at the time and be like, "Oh my God, is that your son that just got sliced open?" And my dad was like, "No, that's my nephew's just as bad." And we find out after that all the debris, you can die from that stuff that's in there, man. You can get like cancer from
Oh
all that.
God, that was the one and only time I've ever used light tubes as a weapon. And yeah,
Oh,
I didn't
I
bring them. Somebody brought them. That's all I can remember. And uh, Raj, for some reason, volunteered.
well, yeah, you had. I just remember you had them all like taped up like a baseball bat, and I was like, "There's no way I'm standing in front of that thing, man." I mean, wrestling you as it was, I was always running away or tagging out so Rod would take the bumps from you.
Oh yeah.
But yeah, no, that was crazy, man. That moment sticks out a lot for us.
And what happened? You were actually at the tryout with Raj, sorry, with Jinder,
Yeah,
when he got signed. You guys were always such a great tag team together, very cohesive unit.
yeah.
Was there
Thank
any
you.
reason that why they didn't take you both as a team?
At that time, actually, I never got any direct feedback. They just did tell me that they said I look like Jinder because we had like the same look. You know, obviously we had all the same gear, the same entrance attire, the turbans and the fancy jackets and all. But I mean, mind you, he's 6'5", I'm 6'1", so there is a bit of a difference in that. And they just told me to keep my phone on. They said they'll you know that typical we can call you back kind of thing, or we may call you back. Keep your phone on.
Yeah.
But with Raj, he actually did a great job at that tryout. Like right away, you could just tell that the coaches were just like in awe of him. Plus, he was so big. He's wrestling as well. He actually wrestled one of your good buddies there, Jeremy Prophet, in a couple tryout matches because they really liked him as well. So I think they had 3 or 4 matches in the short like 3-day classes we had, and they really liked him off of his size plus the potential he had, the fact he can speak 2 languages. It's unfortunate they never gave me the opportunity to wrestle with Jinder as a tag. I think we definitely would have done well. But I mean, that's when they did eventually call me back a few years after to come down for another tryout. And then in that one is where I tore my knee, and then I was sent home at that time, and back to the drawing board.
Do you think now that he's champion, he's got those the Bollywood boys? I'm not sure what their names are in WWE, but they seem to be building a little crew of Indian-looking guys to possibly make that move into India. Do you think that there's a chance you might get another shot with them?
It's definitely crossed my mind. It definitely has. I'd be lying if I said it hasn't. Um, I don't think it's going to be. I don't think it's anything like where, hey, Jinder, you're champion, or he says, hey, I'm champ now, can you call my cousin? I don't think it would ever be anything like that,
Yeah.
nor would I ever put that kind of pressure on somebody. Um, but you never know. Like, I mean, there are a few people that work in the company that, I've spoken to on multiple occasions, and I guess, I just keep working hard and keep doing what I can possibly do myself. And when the opportunity arises, you never know, man. I mean, it could happen. It's something that I definitely dream about. But hey, at the end of the day, if the WWE called us and said, "Hey guys, we need you to be a zookeeper," either one of us, we both love wrestling so much, we would do it, right? So
Oh yeah, anyone that says they wouldn't would be
yeah,
lying because that's where the money is and that's where you get to actually live your dream of making money in the business that you love. And as for
exactly.
the Bollywood boys, I forget what their names are now, but did you guys ever work with them prior to you all to them and Jinder going to WWE? Because I know you guys
Um,
worked Vancouver a bunch of times.
yeah, I went to Vancouver a few times. So it's Harv and Garb.
Okay.
Harv and Gerb Sierra, sorry. So I tagged with Gerb once before. I never met Harv. But there were actually talks on separate occasions. One where we're going to do a four-man faction,
Yeah.
and that didn't come to fruition. And then there was also the possibility that in Vancouver, where there's like a big number of East Indian fans, this was when Jinder got released initially, that we were reuniting as a tag team, and we were going to go up against the Bollywood Boys, who were tag team champions for one of the companies over there. So there was talk about that. It just never ended up coming out. Never happened due to scheduling conflicts, and then that's when Jinder got his phone call back, and we ended up not ever having that match or something that we actually thought was going to be actually pretty big in the East Indian community.
Now, when he was released, did he ever end up moving back to Calgary, or was he still in the Houston area, or I believe he was somewhere in Texas?
Yeah, he was in Houston, and then he's doing home renovations up in Tampa Bay. So he was back and forth there. He'd come to Calgary to visit, or when he had the shows for PWA as well as All Star Wrestling in Vancouver. Um, Plus, he was pretty busy out in the states as well. So he didn't move back, but he was definitely back here quite a bit.
Okay. Was he
Yeah,
always keeping his spirits up during that time that he was just going to work hard and get back with the company?
yeah. Like I mean, we would talk about it, and it's such an unknown in pro wrestling. You know how it is too. Like they can even send somebody a contract or send somebody to the tryout, and next thing you know, nothing comes of it. So Jinder was really, I guess, just going about his day, not having too high of hopes, but just working hard towards that. And I'm sure if you spoke to him or you get a chance to speak to him, he'll tell you that there was a point where he was kind of like, man, they're not going to give me another opportunity. But then he just told himself, you know what? Well, enough is enough. He's just going to work hard himself. And then sure enough, like that positive energy he was putting out to the world just came back to him. They gave him a phone call. So, and I mean, plus he's such a big guy, and he was always getting booked, and everybody liked him. So, everyone's always like, hey, well, keep your head up, man, because they'll be calling you back.
And I heard that the SmackDown rating was actually up for it with his first week of champion, which was very good news. And
Oh, great news, man. It's one thing. It's obviously I'm happy for my cousin's success, and another thing, it's just it's good to see that like people are rejuvenated by something new. You got an Indian champion. Raj is a good worker. He's a big guy. He looks the part. Can speak two languages, so he's got all the attributes that they look for in a champion.
definitely, and I guess he wrestled AJ Styles on this week's SmackDown, and I heard reports that he was booed heavily, of course, because it was in Georgia, where first of all, that's another place similar to Calgary from what I used to live there for a short period of time, and like they're not the most. I guess you could say there's some like hick types there, and but AJ Styles, who's another guy that's been in Great North Wrestling, he's a great wrestler. So I'm actually going to watch that match. So I
Yeah,
haven't watched WWE for a long time, but I actually watched his Punjabi celebration last week, and I'm definitely going to check out that match this week.
yeah. No, that Punjabi celebration was actually great, man. No, they did a good job
Oh
of that.
God, I thought that was hilarious. It was
Yeah,
awesome.
so it's so funny because this is the kind of stuff we were doing in Stampede and PWA, and WWE's just giving like recycling it, man. It's awesome. I
Oh,
remember we used to like up Punjabi celebrations in Stampede or PWA, and they get all the fans to dance to our music and stuff like that. And
Oh, it's a great thing to see. And so for your career now, you're doing this new gimmick mostly in PWA and Western Canada, I guess.
Right? Yeah,
Uh,
that's right.
and where can fans follow you? Anyone listening to this podcast, where can they follow you on social media if they want to learn more about your career and stay up to date with everything you're doing?
I appreciate that. On Instagram, you can follow me at Stamina Papi, or on Twitter at Stamina underscore Papi. So that's where I'm up to date with all my stuff and motivational things and just the updates for when I'm at a show. You know, send a picture, a couple of videos, and just trying to just keep doing what we love doing. And I mean, I grew up loving wrestling since I was 2 years old, and it's something that I'll love for the rest of my life. So just keep working hard, keep doing what I do, and keep the fans interested. And hopefully, who knows, maybe I get a big following. Like you said, one day I could be there as a part of an Indian faction, or who knows, as one of the guys in the next Punjabi celebration dancing.
Exactly. And we'd be happy, of course, to have you out here again in Great North Wrestling if you're ever back in Ontario. And in the meantime, if you do have that footage of that tag team match of me and Joe against you and Jinder, I'd love to throw that up on my YouTube channel. I'm
Oh, for
sure.
sure, man. I'll send that to you right away. Yeah, no, I definitely have. I was just watching it, like I said, so I'll send that over to you, man. And I'd love to come out there for Great North, man. It'd be great. I mean, it's been a long time since I was out there, but it was definitely one of our favorite moments as a tag team too.
And we've grown a lot out there. Yeah, I remember. It's interesting. The big show that we did actually 10 years ago at the Ottawa Civic Center. It's funny because you guys were on that show in the first match, and
Yeah,
then AJ Styles was also on that show. So we ended up having two future WWE champions
yeah,
on the
that's
same
right.
show. So that's pretty
Yeah,
cool.
that's great. Awesome.
But thanks a lot for doing this with us. We won't keep you any longer, but maybe
Thank
we'll
you for
check in with you again in the future, um, just so we can keep our fans up to date
having. Right
with
on, man.
everything that's going on with you.
Thank you so much, and good luck with everything, Devin.
Thank you, sir. See you later.
See you later, man.